does he stand by his statement to this House in June of this year that, quote, the government still has an open mind on that quota number?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Supplementary.
A supplementary question, James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If his government does have an open mind, why did they vote down the Green Party's bill and stop public consultation on the refugee quota at Select Committee?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, I'm not aware that there's been any shutting down of consultation at Select Committee. And
order. Point of order, the Honourable Gerald.
Yeah, the Minister has no responsibility for that. I'd ask you to reflect very carefully on it, because it was the Parliament that actually denied the Green Party's bill, not the Minister.
Order. No. There is an issue, I think, about the second part of the question being a decision in the Select Committee. I didn't quite catch the question, but I'm ruling that the question's in order. It's quite capable for the member to answer. Does the member wish to have the question repeated? Would James Shaw please repeat the question for the balance for the benefit of the Minister?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, James Shaw.
I noticed that the Minister did actually object himself to Denise's bill being...
Order. That's not... I appreciate the point the member's making, but that's not going to help the order of the House. The supplementary question, I will rule in order. I'll allow the member now to ask it again, and we'll allow the Minister then to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
If his government has such an open mind, why did he vote down the Green Party's bill and stop public consultation on the refugee quota at Select Committee?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, Mr. Speaker, while I have no responsibility for either of those things, I am aware that the Foreign Affairs Select Committee is hearing 4 submissions on that very issue this week.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
How can New Zealanders trust the national government to increase the quota when John Key has already said, in relation to the existing 750 cap, that, quote, we believe that that's the right number for us, end quote?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the public can trust the government to redouble its efforts to ensure that the quota refugees that we do take are well settled. The data I have seen is that there are, despite very good examples of strong settlement amongst the quota refugees, an unacceptably high number are not doing well after they settle here, and that is the government's focus.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Why should the public trust the National Party to increase the refugee quota in a meaningful long-term way when, as late as last week, they refused to even consider an emergency quota and in the past have lobbied to cut the number of refugees that New Zealand takes?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, the member has something of a fixation on the quota and of the number 750. I remind the House that that is one part of the government's humanitarian response, including another 300 places in family reunion, the 250 or so convention refugees that are granted asylum every year, and the emergency places that have been announced this week, in addition to significant other humanitarian contributions on top of the $15 million that the government had already provided to assist the Turkish government in supporting refugees on their border. Another $4.5 million was announced this week, and I think that is a very, very good contribution above the 750.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
So does he believe that New Zealand is doing its fair share, given that since National was elected in 2008, we have slipped from 83rd in the world to 90th in the world per capita for taking on refugees?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member is fixated on the quota, so I'll give him the numbers on quota. Of the 193 UN countries, only 22 of them take quota refugees. New Zealand ranks about 6th or 7th on that list, and I think we can be very, very proud of that record.
Entry.
Order. Order. James Shaw, supplementary question.
So does he believe that New Zealand is doing its fair share when we haven't increased our quota since 1987?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, for the reasons that I outlined 2 supplementary questions ago, yes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So given that the Minister's office was already advised on increasing the quota when it was last reviewed in 2013, and there has not been an increase for the last 3 years, why does the government need to do another review?
The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, Mr Speaker, because in the absence of a review, nothing would change. We are going to review that quota next year, as we've set out, and that's what the government will do.